Thank you, Mr Speaker. So I rise to speak to part one of the Telecommunications Interception Capability and Security Bill. And just looking at some of the interpretation, and I will jump through to the infrastructure aspect. With the infrastructure level service, it means any service that provides a physical medium over which telecommunications are transmitted, and it talks about the optical fibre. So, in other words, the hardware, but not the hardware of the phone itself, but the wires and the likes. And I remember in the Marlborough Sounds where we ran a telephone wire down to a neighbour's or sort of an outrigger from our home, and I realised that wire between batches in the Sounds or homes would fit within that, and obviously something else that can be intercepted. Something that concerns me more in terms of the interpretation is the minister, and no disrespect to the minister sitting there, but the minister means the minister of the Crown who, under the authority of any warrant or with the authority of the Prime Minister, is for the time being responsible for the administration of this Act. Now, at the moment, it's the Minister, the Communications Minister, and I think there's a real role for a minister that deals with the business end of communications. But this bill is really also about the spying part. Now, one thing about network security, but the fact is it's about snooping, it's about spying, and that minister can change. It says who with the authority of the Prime Minister, and that's part that really concerns me, because we've already got a problem with the minister in charge of the GCSB and SIS, and his selection of his director of the GCSB has got strong powers in this. There is nothing in this bill that would stop the Prime Minister making him, or in the future maybe herself, the Minister of this Act and the Minister of the GCSB and SIS and other aspects of that. And when we've got the history of the illegal spying, and we know large volume spying that these bills don't even cover, is happening within the range of activity that minister covers. And then if that minister was to have control of this as well, full individual control of who he seeks to employ and did, in terms of the director of the GCSB, Ian Fletcher, it actually gets into the realm of sinister. And I think that this bill, and maybe the Minister of Communications Minister will or could address that and make it a little bit more specific about the range of ministerial responsibility that maybe precludes that the Minister of the GCSB and SIS can be the one and the same minister that operates this, just so we can do a little bit of separation. I think it would be a good idea, and it's good to see the Minister there with that capacity. And also say to the Minister, thanks for the letter to the Green Party outlining, and there was an expression that we could meet, but I actually find it a little bit, Farskell's probably a bit rich seeing you're sitting there and we're face to face, but it's not very practical in terms of the speed that this bill is going through. It's going to be after the event, I expect. But so the dialogue is probably here and now. Always concerned when I see the national security, including its economic well-being. Well, of course we want New Zealand and New Zealand Inc. to be in a very good economic footing. We don't want somebody in to come and muck that around particularly. But it's always a concern as to what that definition actually is. What is in that definition, and whose version of economic well-being, and how far out is it? How sustainable is the well-being we're talking of it? Is it intensive dairying? And we must protect that at all costs when we know that it's got a big externality, and we need to look after some of the MPs in this House and their interest around farming maybe, but and we do. We must look after the family farmers, but we must not have economic well-being measured by something that is temporal and not sustainable at any time. Mr. Speaker.
Browning.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chair, sorry. Network operator has been brought up already, but that is also quite concerning when we think, what is a network operator? And they've got some definitions there, but they are very broad. They do need to be toned down and made more specific, and some of the supplementary order papers may address that. But, you know, what we've got operating through Parliament, the networks there, I would look to some of my NGO friends and think, is the Greenpeace's network within their offices, is that going to get intercepted? Is Fonterra's big office and the networks within that and elsewhere, is that part of the same sort of equation? And that could be tidied up as well. It was interesting to see or to hear the issue around the terminal. You know, is this device terminal, or the fact that I can tweet on something that's been sent to me part of the network, and I suppose it's intended to be. There is a concern as well on this part, and there's been some criticism of the supplementary order paper, and we'll probably revisit that. But that's also got something, we've got some comment from outside, from telecommunications and IT people, about the definitions. And one of them is a concern that the definition, and this is from Catalyst IT Director Don Christie, definition of network operator is so broad as to essentially capture anyone in the sector. It creates huge uncertainty and therefore business and investment risk for anyone in the New Zealand ICT industry or considering entering it. So I'm hoping that through the supplementary order papers, but the Minister sitting there might be able to fine-tune this somewhat. The Greens, of course, are opposing this bill because of its breadth, because of the fact that we expect that with the purposes and principles here, they aren't really being addressed properly before we have a full investigation into the surveillance issues or the security issues of New Zealand. We've had so many things that have gone wrong, the illegal activities. We must have an independent, genuinely independent investigation and then come back and address this bill. And I'm looking forward to that sometime in the future. We have in the purposes relating to interception capability and to ensure that the agencies are able to effectively carry out lawful interception. Well, that's about the lawful part, and it does concern me that it may actually need to be spelt out a little for this government and the GCSB, that certain other activities actually spell out what is fully not lawful, because we've got other parts around the world, we've got other countries. Brazil is just setting up its own new networks, its new systems to find a way to actually avoid the likes of Waihopai, the National Security Agency of the United States, of actually spying on them. They found that they were being spied on. They are not impressed.
Order.
Yeah,
no.
This is around the purposes of the Act relating to interception capability. And I think that New Zealand, with a full investigation into the purposes and the principles relating to interception capability, might want to follow what Brazil has done in terms of doing something that's absolutely independent and it's looking at network security for itself, that will stop the likes of what we appear to be allowing and setting up through this bill. I'll speak to this a little bit further as we go through the rest of the parts. Thank you.
Ian McKelvey.
I move the question be now put.
I'm going to Dr. David Clark.
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, the Part 1 really covers such a wide range of things because it speaks to the purposes and principles